in the problem statement. So it is extremely important for you to understand the right perspective, that whosoever has published the article is also like you only. Little bit he or she has done the work about that particular area or concern little earlier. That is all. But just because it is printed, just because he has published, just because it is available before you want to collect something new or add on to that particular information, the person who has published is not a great person. This is the first mental preparation you have to make. The person, when you read, because you will take the role of both the student as well as the assessor here. Assessor means you will assess at then and there during reading what is the person has implied or told in that particular article. So you are taking an advantage. You're more like a little kind of what is called critical person, who not only will firstly understand what has been done, but also critically evaluate what he has done. Evaluate in the sense here, critically judge. So you take a semi role of student as well as the judgment person. Never ever eulogize, or never ever, I should say, give big credential for the just the published paper. It is just that it is be published little before than you, because you are also going to end up in that status once you do once you complete your work. So he is not a great man. The person who is published is never a great man, but nevertheless, what you are seeing at depth and focus is what he has written, in a critical angle, in a criticality. So critical here means, you see, please understand, more analytical in nature, more unbiased in nature, more sometimes to a large extent finding fault. Please understand. So because it is the very purpose of reviewing of literature is, it is not the fault that is committed or mistake that is committed. We should be happy if you identify, but you should build on, confirm that there is some kind of a lacuna, there is some kind of scope, there is some kind of thing in your mind which is clear, but in the writer's mind is not clear, or in your mind there is a doubt whether the person has done that work or not. You should get that kind of situation when you read. So that is the second mental preparation in reading article. Never think that whatever that is printed is 100% true. In other words, you will critically evaluate and give credence to only what you have understood, and you give more importance, more focus on what you have not understood and what a gap that is existing. This is what is called a mental state that you should read. Just because it is published in some high impact factor, it can never be free of mistakes. After all, whosoever edits, whosoever reviews, they are all human beings. They are all amenable for kind of mistakes, and you could identify some silly or major mistakes, and it is better you will mark those things when you present the summary of that particular article after reading it. So one of the mindset that you people should have when you read an article is that you're critically assessing, critically evaluating, critically knowing, or appreciating, or having some doubts when a certain fact or for certain finding you find in that article. So that is extremely important. That never ever tell whatever that is published is 100% correct, 100% true, 100% verifiable, 100% reproducible. That doubt should be always there with you. Else it will be that just because many people have done it little before and it has gone through some kind of peer reviewing process, it cannot be a great thing that you can accept 100%. So with cautioning this mindset, you should read the article. Never. And also I would, the third mindset is you got to be very sincere in the sense identifying a gap and then confirming that gap and telling that you do not have any idea why that person has not discussed about this particular aspect in that particular article. So this is how that sincerity also should be very, I should say, visible when you review the literature. Many students don't have this. That is the reason why I have put question mark and also binoculars. See, the magnifying glass. So you will have to do using both the things. First, you should have a lot of doubt. Next, you should find out clarity. Clarity is binoculars or finding what is embedded or implied, and question mark is that you will always have some kind of doubt, some kind of thing which is not very clear to you. That is the actual consequence or result of during your reviewing of literature. Now let us see, with this background, let us see what is reviewing of literature and what it does. A review of literature surveys, summarizes, and links together the whole research, also known as literature, right? In the given field is already delineated. Field here is that concern statement of part of your problem statement. That is, on that you will collect some kind of worked out or some kind of related information, and you will pull it up, and after you pull up the information, you will stitch that into a chapter that we will see little later. So it is a broad, comprehensive, in-depth, systematic, and critical review of scholarly publications. So publications are possible for only people who have understood, worked, and they are scholars in the area of their research work. And the whole exercise is a broad, comprehensive, in-depth, yet systematic critical review. So all these statements, all the words are extremely important, and that is what is reviewing of literature. It will be a broad spectrum, but yet comprehensive. In the sense, comprehensive means all encompassing, not leaving anything. That is what is the meaning of comprehensive. Not leaving anything about the concern or the issue, coverage as it exists till date. That is what is called comprehensive. Comprehensive also means you have asked questions and many of it have been answered. Many of it you could get that answer in the article. In depth, because you do continuously, very closely, and very keenly. That only it is possible for you to have that critical review, right? And afterwards, you do it in a systematic manner. And what is that system is the real steps that we need to follow, so that reviewing of literature we will be doing justice. Review of literature is an important step in research process. There is nothing more important as I consider, because reviewing of literature is always being done. It is not you start review of literature today and end up after about 3 months. That is not like that. Review of literature at many stages in research, even after you find and confirm your finding, reviewing of literature is a continuous process. That is another truth that you should bear in your mind. But it is an important step and also a stage in your research. Reviewing of literature is a stage in your research, initial stage in research process. Laborious, because many articles you have to read, lot of work would have been already done, but very, very essential, because you should understand that whatever that you had in your mind as a dream would have been shattered, because that would have been already done or worked out with many researchers before. Many times we get disheartened because you wanted to do that thing, but that has been already done. So that kind of experience you will get, but it is very, very essential that you should get that kind of experience and move forward, right? It is very, very obvious and natural to get that kind of experience. Then you will have to find out what is that novelty, what is that specialty, and how to attribute, if there is no novelty, if there is no creativity factor in the already published literature, then it becomes your baby and you will do that new work later on. So it is extremely important to know what has been done, so that you can create something new. That is another main objective of reviewing of literature. An account of what is already done because that is extremely important for you to understand the depth of the work or the breadth of the work that has been done in that particular issue or field or problem. So it is already known because it is published, but there could be certain small fissures which you will identify. So that is what is meant by an account of what is already done. Extremely important to know how much it is done, so that what you could do will be little different, little new. Describe, summarize, evaluate, clarify, and integrate the content of primary reports. I will tell you about the primary word primary little later on. What is primary secondary literature will come up little later on, but it is now as an introduction of review of literature. These are the work that you do. You will describe at times, you will summarize at times, you will critically evaluate at times, you will clarify if that is not clarified or just implied in the article, and finally synthesize, integrate the content of the primary reports into a beautifully written review of literature chapter. Extremely important. Now it is, I told you, critical evaluation of available literature, gives an overview. You are sure what has been covered. You are also equally sure what you want to cover. These two things will be achieved at the end of review of literature. Effective evaluation of select documents, extremely important. Now, problem here is how to do effective review and how to select what relevant documents. That is what is the actual activity that you will have to do before reading. So you will have to do an effective evaluation as a consequence or result of what? Of the documents which you select relating to your particular problem or issue or topic. That is what is the actual work in review of literature with respect to all the research scholars. It is an essential part of research process. I should say very important part of review, initial part of the thesis or the report itself, right? Very important. And this chapter is extremely tricky to write, because we do not know the system of ingredients that should be present in review of literature. We try to, resort to certain cut and paste and certain hasty work, certain kind of, shoddy work. No, that is not allowed. That cannot be entertained in a serious work like Doctor of Philosophy or doctoral studies. Extremely important is, it is an essential part of research process. You should understand and you should experience the reviewing of literature and also enjoy reviewing of literature. Critical synthesis, I need not stress now. Critical means that both analytical as well as synthetic approach you take leads to logically to formulate a research question, right? So you have formulated a research problem into problem statement, but actually what you have to investigate yourself to get or create the knowledge is formulation of research question, and that is possible only, or that can be finalized only in after doing or at the end of reviewing of literature. So formulation of research question is a result consequence of reviewing of literature. 5 points, because why review of literature is important. We should see, you will identify, you will develop and refine the research question after its formulation. At the end of all synthesis, you will identify gaps and inconsistencies. We talk about it little later. You will understand what is a gap. Strength and weaknesses of designs, methods, instruments used in researcher. Because you are reading an entire article, you are reading from abstract to the bibliography or references. You know what experiments have been done, how the research has been designed. All those things you come to a kind of little, understanding. You will get yourself exposed to all this. Development of plan and research methodology becomes easier for you, for your work, for your problem. It becomes easier. And finally, you will have the research hypothesis in a very, very fine-tuned manner, so that design of experiments will be the logical sequence after reviewing of literature. The purpose of review of literature, please read only the kind of red words. It will be a handy guide. It will be a solid background for your study. It is reflects the up to date, as on date, what the work coverage work has been done about the issue or the problem. Gives you a lot of rationale for your work, because you can substantiate, defend that it has not been done, and also formulate and determine your research hypothesis, which will be new for you, and it facilitates a critical outlook. Either two, you did not had that. Now you will have a critical outlook harnessed or imbibed in you of facts and views. You get that unbiased quality ingrained in your mind. So these are all very high qualities that as a researcher gets when something seriously done that already exists in the area, facts and views, you will compile, get that very clear, understand very clearly. And also when you understand very clearly, what you want to do also becomes a clarity for you. So you don't grope in that. It demonstrates the relevance of the research and helps you to design. See, this is what is the thrill that you get. You get complete relevance and also utility point of view. There will be no futile exercise. You get the utility point of view. What is the work that you should do is has the utility or usefulness. Later on, you will get the relevance, and that gives you a kick, that gives you an inspiration, that gives you an enthusiasm and encouragement for you to move forward. So that is also is achieved by reviewing of literature. And finally, it paves novelty or the creativity for your work, so that you can very, very proudly present that it is your original work and it is your contribution to the body of knowledge. So all these important things can be achieved, and that becomes the purpose of reviewing literature. Function of reviewing of literature: provide background information, establish importance, demonstrates familiarity, and also you will carve out your space. In other words, you have identified, delved into that gap or the not understood portion. You want to make that as your topic and throw some kind of solution, and also make you as well as others to understand. During the process, you contribute to the knowledge. So this is what is actually the function of reviewing of literature. Finally, what reviewing of literature answers? The reviewing of literature answers the following questions. In other words, this also could be an indirect checklist after you compile the information, after you do the reviewing of literature per se, actually yourself. What research has been conducted in the area, a very overview point of view, a summarized point of view, important curled out point of view, all those perspectives you will reiterate in your own sentences. That is important. What are the key concepts of the main variables? What are the variables? You have already have a variable idea, but what are the main variables that you would like to investigate and propound will be clarified. That will answer. It will also answer the question of what are the existing theories, existing generalizations that has happened on account of the previous work, previous articles. What are the deficiencies in our knowledge and understanding, most important for you, because that is what is going to be your topic and your work later on. What are the deficiencies or gaps? What evidence is lacking, or what is contradictory for you? And when you discuss with others, you confirm it that it is a contradictory. And also it could be limited information at that point in time, because that needs further query, further investigation, which could be your aim and objective later on. what research designs and methods seem unsatisfactory, sometimes, incongruent methods, unnecessary designs would have happened, which you feel in simplistic manner simply could have been done. They would have done it complicated. This is what is happens. When you read the article very critically, because you are as a external person will have generally an unbiased mind, and you can identify the gap, you can identify what could have been done in a better manner, and you can also extend that to try yourself. If you do in shorter method, whether you achieve the desired result. All these questions reviewing of literature answers. Now, there are actually three kinds of literatures: primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. That is the total introduction of review of literature. What is the objective? What are the functions? Why you should do it? All those things I think we have covered. Now we come actually to the real literature resource you have, and this literature resource is categorized or defined into three parts: primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. Because it is important, when you pick up an article, you should be able to categorize the source also. Now, what is primary source? A primary source is a study written by the original researcher. It is research publication written by the person or people who conducted with their hands and minds their work. So you write, you do your work and you write, then it becomes a primary literature. In other words, a researcher's account, in other words, I should say, it is an original article written by the person who conducted the research, actual research. So examples: all published research articles, unpublished thesis, dissertation, personal diaries, that is workbooks, handwritten records, and reports, because they are all precursors to published an article, and articles get kind of compiled into journals, right? So what you find in your journals are work really done, conducted by the actual researchers, and only that is the primary source. Many times primary resource is scarce when compared to secondary source. In other words, you see, I'll tell you an example here. Just to give an analogy, you can see our epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata are they are epics, they are very big stories written by very few people. In fact, hand few people, maybe 4 or 5 people who are in a great sagely form wrote such complicated long stories like Ramayana and Mahabharata. Let us take only as Mahabharata as example. It is that Vyasa who wrote that or conceived that story and wrote the book, right? But it is the single author. So the primary source is Vyasa. The author is single. The source is single, Mahabharata. Vyasa and Mahabharata. But you can see million bhashyas, million commentaries on that Mahabharata, right? You have you have so many other people who take a part of it and write, So it is wise and right to tell that primary resources are always few, scanty, put together. They are very, very less in number. Whereas secondary sources will be very high, very, very many. But as a researcher now, starting or initiating research, it is important for us to delineate which is primary source, which is secondary source, and have your edge or priority to the primary source, because that is original in nature, because the researcher has done and he has written. So you should be able to identify that original research, original articles, and have your hand laid on them more than resorting to ready-made available, sometimes unaccountable secondary sources like Google, like so many other search engines, where secondary sources, secondary work on a primary issue would have been done, and that is available. While secondary source is plenty, easily available, over representation of reading secondary sources by a new researcher is not welcome. So you will have to do this you will have to delineate what you're reading. Is it original? Is it secondary? Both you should read, but give priority and weightage more to primary sources. Now, what are the secondary sources? Written by someone other than the original author, right? Theory of relativity, Einstein wrote, but there are about million authors taking that cue and working on that relativity and getting something new, So he becomes a secondary source, right? He is also an author, he is also a researcher. So in a way, we also become part and part of secondary literature only, because it is an extension of a small aspect culled out in the review of literature, which we are going to embrace and create certain new knowledge in that direction. So secondary sources are plenty, primary sources are limited. You should have this correct delineation and you should read both. That is extremely important, but don't overemphasize, don't just because it is available in plenty, do not just give over representation on secondary source. For example, newspaper, book chapters, edited book chapters, television, radio, magazine, web sources, they give you flood of information, but you should have a very, you should see in specs which will separate what is primary, what is secondary. Never ever rely more on secondary sources, but rely on primary sources. I will tell you how primary sources you can get. There are certain laid out search engines for them. We will talk about it little later. But now it is easy. It is good for you to understand what is primary and what is secondary. And tertiary sources are like, for example, Wikipedia. You have so many encyclopedias, right? They are all tertiary sources. It's compilation rather than actual work publications. They are compilations. They also give you a lot of information, but they are good for you to understand, but not to kind of what is called formulate your work. You see, in reviewing of literature, understanding as well as creating both will be happening simultaneously. You will have to understand. So tertiary sources also you can read, secondary sources also you can read, primary sources also you can read. Now you will understand that for a researcher, reading habit is a prerequisite and it has to be done continuously and intensely. There is no excuse for a researcher to read only limited articles. Anything you can go on reading, but you should be screening what you should read, categorizing what you are reading, and giving importance duly for that particular thing. Reasons for using secondary sources: because primary sources generally not available, or even available with a limited resource, with a limited access. Many times, original research is very costly, also very rare, also to lay our hands. Secondary source plenty, can provide different ways, give you breadth of the knowledge, but never the dictum is that secondary sources should not be overused for obvious reasons which we have discussed. And you have the tertiary sources, like you see guides, literatures, Wikipedia, library catalogs. Okay, so that also are helpful, but then they have their own limitations. They cannot be very copiously cited. What you can copiously cite in your literature review is the primary articles, primary literature, primary source. Secondary source to some extent, provided you have clarity, who has published, who is the publisher, who is the author. Sometimes there are many articles where there is no publisher's name at all, that you find in Google, crores and crores of hits you get, but many times you don't know who has published it, because everybody can publish in such forums. So it is important for you to lay more stress, have little more emphasis on primary sources. Now, with that knowledge of limiting ourselves on the focus of the resource, now let us talk about actual technique, how to do review of literature. Absolutely, this is extremely important because, there could be many techniques, but I have over a period of time devised my own technique, which I am using it and also advising my students to do this, they take this technique. There could be many parallel techniques, there could be your own techniques to read, but what is to be achieved is already we have discussed, right? So technique is nothing but a tool. In a manner you do certain things like a, I should say, an algorithm, step by step, so that the things become automatically comprehensive later on when we complete it. So let us see what is this technique, reviewing of literature. So you have sometimes, when you have your problem statement, you will have to call out what are the keywords. That itself is a big exercise. How to write keywords, how you should refine once you put in the search engine, how you can get focused literature out of the keywords. See, in writing articles, especially for publishers, keywords are what is called marketing tools. Keywords are more generalistic. There is a rule and regulation for formulating a keyword, that I can tell you when, if there is time permits, how you publish and how you, what is the technique of writing keywords, right? Tell them, many people do not know how to put a keyword. Generally, there will be a title of the article. At the top, there will be abstract, 150 or 200 words in a single paragraph, and then there will be a keyword. Please understand, that is an essential portion of any journal because it is more a journalistic exercise rather than authoristic contribution. For journals, for marketing themselves, that first page where there is title, where there is abstract, where there are keywords is essential because it is important for them to have that accountability. They ask keyword. Now, how to put a keyword there? The rule there is that you should have keywords as broad, not focused, as broad of the topic that you have taken, of the concern that you have taken. Concern is very focused, but the keyword should be very broad. Please understand. One hint here is, when you have the words in the caption, never ever put what is put in the caption as the keyword. That is a rule in formulating a keyword, which many people do not know. You know why keywords are put? Keywords are put for other faculty, other scientists to read your article so that you become more marketable, you become more popular. No, keyword intention is to have the breadth, not the depth. Okay, so that is extremely important. But here, when you do the reviewing of literature, you will have to have breadth, depth both together. So breadth is very limited here because your concern, your issue, you are already cutting off so many unrelated things. So your issue concern definitely will be a keyword here, and it has to be little focused, little related words also you should put so that you get enough number of hits. Out of that, you can select the article for entire reading. I will tell you how to go about, but this is important for you to understand that focus of the keyword, especially when you are doing a research work, is important. Whereas when you publish the article, when you write the title, that keyword is serves a different purpose. So you will have to shortlist the articles. The basis is, first cut is, once you put the keyword and get the hits, you will get definitely larger hits in the journals, not in generalized search engines like Google, where you get crores and millions of articles. So you can't put your research topic in Google. You will get lost, in the flood, and you don't know which one to take, which one to leave. So that you can never do exhaustive reviewing of literature, which is the actual purpose. You have to do exhaustive review of literature, but in Google it is not possible. So why should you resort to Google? So you will have to resort to your own area search engines. We will have a talk about that little later. So putting keyword in Google is not a good idea at this point in time, because you will get a flood in which you just get washed away. You get just washed away. You do not know. So it is better you choose the search engine, you choose the keyword, and you will get what is called selection of article becomes rather easier. And in the first attempt, try to, after selection of article, don't read entire articles. You read only abstract. This is my prescription. Read only abstract of all the select articles that you have done. Select articles. If you ask me, it should be around 500 articles or even lesser than 500 articles. That itself will take about 3 months for you to read. 500 articles are not joke, not easy to read. It is good, but in that 500 article, I should say, because it is selected, you have done screening perfectly, you can say that that is actually the work that has been done in that particular area, in that area. So you will have that grip little later on, but in the first cut, read only the abstract. Read only the abstract. Please also understand, abstract service is a journalistic property, not your property. You do, authors need not, kind of what's called, it will be of no use to the author who is writing the article, but it will be of immense use for the person who reads your article, So abstract construction is always an engineered paragraph. There is strict rules and regulations for you to write the abstract. Now, what are those rules, regulations? In abstract, you should have four delineated essential parts. That is what journals will observe. They will give you the guidelines also. The first one is the title and your affiliations. Affiliations in the sense, the full affiliation, your designation, your address, your residential address. Extremely important is kind of what is called your affiliation address, your institutional address, where you can be traced. That is actually important. So that is the first portion. Title of the article, inclusive in the preliminary information, that is the affiliation, and also a small one or second, two or three maximum sentences of the beginning in the abstract. In other words, significance of the work, importance of the work, area of the work is delineated in first one or two statements, one or two sentences, right? So that is what is the beginning portion of. So what is the importance of that particular research is delineated in, say, maximum of 3 to 3 sentences. So that is the first part of the abstract. The second part is very easy to identify, and the second part is actually the research design, material, method. In other words, what is that experiment that you did, which procedure you followed, which is that sample you did, and how many samples you did. That kind of delineated actual experiment that you have done with the procedure. Experiment means part and parcel of procedure would come. So that is the next step. The third also is easy to delineate, and that is, out of these experiments, what you observed, summary of the results, actually the summary, actually the precursor of findings that you get in results. And finally, there will be last portion, fourth portion, and that is, you will have what is called two important concepts there. One is the conclusion and the inference. There is a difference between conclusion and inference. Conclusion is with respect to your findings that has arisen out of the experiment. That is conclusion, which is very peculiar, unique, limited to your work in that you're reporting. So that is conclusion. Inference is the theorization or generalization or futuristic scope, all those things. These both put together, you will have to have the fourth column. So you will take a spreadsheet, make it into 4 columns, cut this abstract into 4 parts and fill it up per article. And you can go either year-wise or latest, that is 2021 work that is latest done, and go backwards 2019, 18. So you can go 3 to 5 years so that you you can cover enough of good articles. So there is always a systematic way of doing things. Please do that way. Don't do haphazard. Haphazard things will never give you any kind of confidence, or you will be in the eternal doubt whether that has been covered or not, and all of your exercise becomes futile. This is one thing. Next one is minimum number of databases also you will have to do, not one database, but related databases, because between the databases, although majority of the articles will be almost same in databases, there will be some kind of related articles which are new. So always cover 3 to 5 databases of that particular area that you are going to do that. What are those databases? Databases we will see little later, but now it is you have to understand that you will have to make a column, 4 separate columns, and put stuff, that information what I have told, by reading just the abstract, which will take a maximum of, I should say, 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes per article. So it is an exercise of, say, I should say 15 days or a month of compilation of all the into a big chapter with 4 columns, right, of the select articles that you have got from search engines. So this is rather easy, and there is some kind of grip now that you have enough of information if you do this way of reading only abstract. Then next part B is tabulation. You tabulate, take out, cull out the information in a manner that you wish to present the review of literature chapter. It could be thematic, it could be chronologic, it could be procedure wise, it could be the research design wise. You have your criteria and go on, doing sorting out. So if you do Excel sheet, this sorting becomes extremely easy. Now I should say here at this point in time, if you do this way, you have at your fingertip 3 chapters of your thesis already written. See, that is the exact smart way of doing reviewing of literature. Now, what are the 3 chapters? The first and the foremost thing is review of literature is a part and parcel you will have to anyway write. So that is first, that is achieved, that you can do it. Second, you will have to do copious citing of these articles when you do what is called, when you build up discussion chapter after your experiments. When you discuss, so discussion is a very important chapter where your maximum creativity will be at zenith. So when you write each sentences in discussion, it is expected that you will corroborate your finding with others' finding. If there is no others' finding compilation, you will be at a loss, and it will be extremely difficult for you to write a discussion chapter. So review of literature becomes a cakewalk for you if you do this systematic way of reviewing of literature. The third, anyway, a part and parcel like the chapter review of literature is integral to your thesis or report. Bibliography or references is also a part. So 3 chapters of your thesis will be very, very easy to build up, compile, and do it in a jiffy. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I wish that you resort to this kind of systematic way of culling out information. Follow this technique so that you can write the article. It is just writing article is, organizing according to a chronology, publication time, or theme, or method, whichever you want. You can always do that so that you have all that information with you now, right? So it is only linking, writing a introduction chapter, writing a conclusion chapter, and then you see that when you read, there is always a flow, there is cohesiveness, there is comprehensiveness, and there is concise manner. It is in a concise manner. So writing review of literature becomes easy if you use this particular technique. If you have any other technique also, you can use, but I am confident if you follow this, reading only abstract in the first instance, and later on when you do actual work, you can extend to know when you do the designing of research designs, you can read the entire article. Anyway, selection of articles you will have to do, and that is extremely important. Now, I give you a small example of what is called how to put the keyword so that you optimize, you can limit or select the articles. This is a small technique, very, very important. Many people don't do this because refining of keywords also becomes extremely important, and there is a way to do refining of keywords. The major mistake many people do when refining keywords is they will little depart from the central theme itself. That is not allowed. In refining keyword means the central theme core has to be kept, that is issue has to be kept firmly, and only see that the number of hits becomes less and less, so that you can manage, you can limit the articles. That is the purpose here. Now there is a search engine. I am giving an example of life sciences here. It is called PubMed Central. PubMed Central is a search engine for life sciences, for all life sciences, biology, even some biochemistry and also related topics. PubMed Central is a panacea. You have a lot of good articles. Very well-known Elsevier publishes this PubMed Central. You have a lot of credence to this PubMed Central. So you will have to find out when you search or opt a search engine, its credence, its credibility, extremely important, right? So if somebody asks you where it is listed, you should be able to tell. And when you tell this PubMed Central, nobody will have any kind of doubt, right? So that is why search engines credibility also becomes extremely important. And when you say your search engine is Google, then the credence is very, very less or limited. You will have to do in every field of science, every field of management, every field of work, there are engines now available. You will have to search them and get it. For that, you can use Google, but not for actual selection of your articles. Now, PubMed Central, let me just give you an example. My intention is to find out or estimate blood lead level among the human population. Lead is a pollutant. It is a criteria pollutant. In other words, if you monitor that particular pollutant in the environment and also human biological fluids, then you are talking about actual lead pollution, which is very dangerous, because lead is a xenobiotic which has not left, which will corrupt almost all the systems, like it is neurotoxic, gonadotoxic, blood poison, it is settles in the bone, it is nephrotoxic, it is carcinogen, and it is highly inert and always present in the environment. Like God, everywhere, anywhere, there is no place where there is no lead at all, in this. And also, lead becomes extremely dangerous, especially because it causes mental retardation. It is transferable from mother to offspring. So, all this is associated with lead. So, if you talk about lead pollution, people will appreciate. There was a big revolution when two-stroke engine converted into three-stroke, and then it became finally four-stroke, and then added anti-knocking agents, de-leading fuels have become a norm now because of this lead pollution. It's a heavy metal toxic pollution, cumulative in nature, very dangerous because it attacks almost all the vital organs and physiological processes of the body. So my interest is to find out the blood lead level, not air or water or soil, any other media, blood lead, because what is present externally, I am not much interested. That could also be intent of many, but my problem is what is running level inside the body. So blood runs in almost all organs. So I choose the blood, and I have put the keyword as blood lead level among the whole world population, because population here means I include the races. You have 4 different races of human races: Mongoloid, Caucasian, Hispanic, and Negroid. See, Asian is not a race actually, it's a mixed race, but these are the 4 distinct races you have in the world, and I would like to see representation of blood level in these 4 races, so that I will be talking about blood lead level existing in the world, so that I will be talking about how much they are toxicated, how much they are poisoned. When I put this word, you see, so generic, blood, whole world population, and only one indicator. So the concern here is blood lead. That is my core. That is what is my estimation. That is what is my issue. That is what is my topic. Blood lead. Please observe that you should not leave. but all other things you can play, because I got 1,27,000 in PubMed Center. That means these are all the articles, primary literature, people who have done the work and published the article, right? You have so many articles. How should I select? I will have to, so many people have already worked on that. So it is not viable, not possible, not at all feasible. So I will use a small screen that change the keyword into, for example, blood lead level among Karnataka population. So now the goal, utopian goal of all the population I have left out, although Karnataka population is also world population. My intention was races. Now I have come into Asian race. So that race I cannot use the word. So blood lead level among Karnataka population. But you see the drastic reduction in the hits. I have not left the core. It is blood lead level only. But I have reduced the number of hits. Some more refinement in Bengaluru population. After all, Karnataka is a state, Bengaluru is a region, and it is a cosmopolitan region. So there is a kind of representation, and the work that has been done or published, which is appearing in PubMed Central, is about 499 articles, which is a good number for me to, have a base, have a culled out database on blood lead level, So I can take this as the starting point. But if I want to reduce it further, there is a way which could be little different topics. For example, blood lead level among female population. I'm more interested. Out of 500, it is only 215 articles are present. Blood lead level among Bengaluru female adolescent population. Please understand, blood lead I am not leaving. I'm going on changing the population. My intention is to restrict the number of hits so that I get an idea. This is a small way to refine your keywords so that 60 articles, actually, even if you read 10 articles a day, and not even 10, all the 60 you can complete in one day, because we are reading only the abstracts, is it not? 60 into 10, 600 minutes, easily you can cover in one day or maximum of 2 days. With all population of that 4 columns, you can finish in one day. That is possible, but that is okay for 8th semester project. 215 is okay for 1 or 2 years project, but 500 is good enough for example, a PhD topic. This is how we generally delineate depending on the objectives. So this is the way you will have to do. Now, what are the search engines, especially in medical science? You can also find out similarly in management and social sciences also. If possible, I will give you the information. But in medical science, the search engines are like this. You see, PubMed, which has 28 million articles, right? You have abstracts fully in that. Related articles also are there. Links to full text is available. Full text is not present, but you will have to find it elsewhere, and it can also be imported into some library formats where you can build that bibliography chapters so fast. So you have in one search engine so many articles, so it is a good search engine, right? So you have like that Embase, Excerpta Medica, also a medical search engine, 38 million articles. You see, you have all the facilities. There is always organized literature now available. That is the reason why I said you people are all very lucky. Formerly, it was not this. It was not. It was very tough before the search engines were in place. Archeron Library, very big library. You have high quality reviews there. Review are also very important. I talk about review article little later. Reviews are compilation of small number of authors. It is a big article. There is no experiment actually conducted. Compilation of one particular theme so that you can conclude with your imagination an article. So reviewing also is important. Review articles are important. In fact, that is what should be the logical deliverable after you do review of literature. You should be able to publish an article before doing your experiment and publishing original findings later. So first exercise, you should be prepared to write a review article after the reviewing of literature. There is one engine called UpToDate. Clinical reviews are existing in that database, and that is regarding the life sciences. In search engines, social science and business, you have very famous social science database. Many articles are present in this. Dalhousie University, my God, you have plenty of articles almost covering entire gamut of work relating to commerce, economics, management, public administration. Everything is available in Dalhousie University library. Business and management, useful websites. I'm giving you this particular website. Please use this so that your search engine also is ready for you to lay your hands for your work. So you have search engines now available. All that you need is opening that Excel sheet, selecting by putting the keyword and focusing the keywords to get workable number of select articles, then compiling the information. Other articles or other search engines which are academic in nature, which are little broad based and mix in nature, are Google Scholar, Microsoft Academic, Base. You see, 136 million articles is present in this Base. Core, Science Government, 200 million articles. Semantic Scholar, Baidu Scholar, RefSeek, 1 billion documents are present. They are all published with having the necessity things like publisher's name, writer, the author's name, publication date. All those things are available. They are reasonably good, but they should be the second priority after you do exhaust your field search engines. Now, identifying the research gap, which is a consequence that happens when you do the reviewing of literature. Now, what is a research gap? It is defined as a small area or topic or a doubt or a stone that you are hitting, or the information that is missing, you notice and you try to give little more focus on that information. And if that is not there in that publication, you will also find out, confirm with reading other articles and find that it is not there. So confirm that it is a gap, and that becomes a real find. Research gap identification is a real find, and that could be the topic. You can embrace that into your topic, because that gives for sure that this is a gap that exists, and you can for sure work on that and fill that gap, or address or give some of your own contribution to address that particular gap. So the criteria of novelty definitely comes when you identify a research gap. This highlights the need for research. You build up and you write the problem statements on that, when you identify that particular gap. Identify gaps in the literature shows that you understand the topic, there is a real need for new work, and you are suggesting that you will take up that particular work. Have the potential for further study, engage in independent research work. It is extremely important at this point in time that once you hit the gap, you will have to consult your supervisor to confirm it is a gap. You will have to consult your own peers, your own colleagues, and also read extensively whether that is a real gap. So that is important. Identifying research gap is a fundamental goal of reviewing of literature. It gives you two directions. One, there is a need to do the work. You can justify, defend. Second, it satisfies that you are creating a new knowledge. Both the things are achieved by identifying the gap. So you look for gaps in the research where you can suggest ways forward, or you yourself hypothesize, logically guess, because you are at this now dipped in literature, you know that it is not existing anywhere. Now you are very sure that it has not been done. Areas where research is incomplete, that also you ensure. The term research problem might occasionally be used as synonym of the research. So research problem you have already visualized. You have already visualized by doing by identifying the research gap and confirming it. So there are types of research gaps. There are 6 types of research gaps: methodological conflict, contradictory evidence, knowledge void, action knowledge conflict. What the worker has done is different, but what knowledge he is providing is different. That kind of confusions. Evaluation void. Person has done, but he has not evaluated, so that reproducibility is not there. Theory application void. It has been a beautiful approach, theoretical in nature, but not applicable at all in the field. But that it has both pros and cons. It is always important for you to strategize for these research gaps, what you will do, so that that can be formulated into a research problem and defend and move forward. Take it and move forward as your problem. That is the reason why identifying research gaps becomes the primary aim in reviewing of literature. When having knowledge about that, now let us see the steps to actually put down what all the work hitherto we have done. We have hand notes, right? But we will have to prepare, stitch into a chapter, beautiful chapter giving cohesiveness, conciseness, linking and transition statements, so that it becomes a beautiful story for anybody to understand. Because theme is settled, the area that is what you intend to do is settled. Almost everything, the strategy plan is complete. The preliminary paragraph review of literature will be kind of what is called the area delineation or problems statement delineation. The end of the review of literature will be the objective formulation. You will come to that this particular work that you envisage will do this work under the objective. So the next chapter after review of literature is always the objective, right? Of course, we have covered the objective, how the objective should be there, we know it, but this is how it runs. Before writing review of literature, you sketch of scheme in a sketchy manner, you put up and you organize the matter. I told you now, theme wise, chronology wise, even experimental method wise, procedure wise, whichever you attracts, you can do it. In other words, whatever that has been done, if all the people, have given the procedures, you can use procedure as the theme and talk about the procedures only, right? And stitch in a particular manner or write in a particular manner that it gives some kind of running meaning, and there will be a good flow. So the methods that I have put up, largely they review of literature fall in these groups, either by date wise. You can go from latest to the oldest, or oldest first to the latest last, any fashion. Publication date, by trend, themes, structure, or how, so that you will develop a kind of what should I say, trend in the theme. There is a theme, but there is trend changes. So you put the trend as a strand there and you write themes, and you can choose the methods and also focus on the methods, right? So you take any one of this and then write your article. But what should you write? This is a useful checklist. Only the facts. Definitely you will write the facts only, because what you have read is already facts delineated, tested, and peer reviewed. What is the popular opinion? Many times occurring the same thing becomes popular, or many procedures used by many researchers becomes a popular procedure. Many main variables, dependent, independent variables of that particular topic, you will be very easily identifying the relationship that exists, because you read the inferences, findings. So you will know whether it is strongly related, closely related, weakly related. All those things you will be able to understand and write. Shortcomings, limitations, you will be able to identify and write. Relevance of the research, your research in respect of the work that has been done, or in the defense of the gap that you have identified, you will be able to do. Suggestions and future research of work, also an inkling, if it is beyond the 3-year or 5-year limit that you intend to do, you can also leave that work for little later. So these are the points or the checklist points that once you finish writing are the ingredients of your review of literature chapter. So there is always, any article, even a paragraph, should have this structural delineation, an introduction, actually the body and conclusion. Everything, in English, even if you write a letter also, you will have to introduce, write the body, that is actually the concern, and what is the conclusion. In other words, here in your case, it will be the objectives, derived, evolved by doing the reviewing of literature, so that it becomes a coherent reading, logical elucidation, and also concise manner you will be serving or developing the reviewing of literature chapter. Now, after you write the reviewing of literature, you will have to also check. You will have to check with now what is called critiquing criteria. Now you will become critic of yourself and see whether that you have prepared the review, the literature review, whether it is sounding good, whether it is so. Every stage in research methodology, you write, confirm, and then appreciate. You write, confirm, appreciate. Good for you. Endorsement getting is a pat for you, and appreciation is a kind of what is called a desired factor or a motivating factor for you. All these things will happen in a logical sequence. So after writing review of literature, the questions that you have to put up and get answer out of the chapter is, when you do that, this one you will be happy. And when you select the article, also put this criteria. When you select and start reading the article, because a lot of time is spent, put this criteria. Whether the article that you have selected has the author clearly delineated the problem issue. See, this is critiquing criteria. I told you, you are an evaluator and assessor, so you will have to do that particular role. I should say, assuming the role of a critiquing person, you will have to read the article. How good is the study design? How valid are the results? Don't worry about your competence, but take that kind of special edge, by continuously dipping yourself, soaking in literature, you will get that confidence. Are there flaws in the logic of the discussion? What problems has the author avoided or ignored, so that could be the potential gaps? These are all the critiquing criteria, or the criticality that you should have in your background mind when you start reading both the finished review of literature chapter as well as the selection article that you are going to compile into a review of literature. So this is very, very important. So that criteria I have formulated here. This could be the last slide here. Uncovering the gaps, inconsistencies, relevant concepts, variables. What are the study design? What is that? Is what you identified by reading the article. Conceptual data, database literature. Data-based literature is included, not a theoretical one. Summary and synthesis well done in the article. Flow a logical sequence. Signify what is research. This is the critiquing criteria that you should have either written and check. You can put a tick mark after you read article. Yes, there is uncovered gaps, inconsistencies. What are those? In that index card, in that summary, in this one you can write it. So that becomes a useful guide notes for you to develop your own review of literature chapter in a more value-added fashion. So that the chapter becomes a inverted triangle type. Broader aspects like introductory things little later, and what you finally intend to do at the tip. So broader things becomes introductory at the top. Middle things, you're coming to close theme, your theme, and finally what you have identified, what you are going to do will be presented. In other words, what is your intent, objective, your goals of your research that you are doing will be presented as a small brief notes at the end, which will pave way for you to objectify write objectives, right objectives. This is how the organization of the review of literature chapter has to be put. What points to write review of literature? You should be specific, succinct, selection, be selective. There is no scope to write. If your thesis is about 100 pages, there should not be 75-page review article, review of literature. So you should be very careful in limiting. So there must be kind of brevity, summarizing, epitomizing, paraphrasing, or it also you will get by writing reviewing of literature chapter. Focus the current topics as latest as possible and give very, very lucid kind of clear references. Anyway, now everything is in soft version. You are not going to do major mistakes, but please have an eye so that these points have becomes useful guidelines for you to when you do. So checklist finally for review of literature. Is the information reliable, information error-free, factual, verifiable? Anybody else also could retrieve and get the same experience what you have noted, right? Credentials of the author, affiliations of the author, expertise on the topic, whether it is relevant for your particular chosen work, clear distinction made between facts and opinions, information bias, information currency, and then information meet your particular need, and information providing depth coverage. Good if you verify all the things, yes, and have an answer for these questions, then you are written an effective, good review of literature with lot of fresh mind and zeal to put up your design of experiments and conduct the experiments. Qualities of a good review of literature: focused, very limited number. I should say 15 to 20 or even 25 pages could be the maximal number of pages for a review of literature, not more than that. It should be logical, spread, following a system. It should be evolved and developed, stage by stage or method by method or using a time period. Integrative, encompass as much information as possible from as many authors as possible. Integrative. And finally, people should say, yes, it is a real systematic scientific way of articles that is reviewed, which are majority current in nature, and there is a possibility that you will extend that current knowledge into an extension created or found out or new knowledge. This is the review article. I think I should stop at this. This is a small chapter, takes about 10 minutes, which I will start next time. There are 3 types now of articles that are that come out after doing the reviews, especially the great works. The depth is the only criteria. See, like for example, you can have a review article for a PhD work. There is one treatise, which is very special treatise, and what is that treatise we will learn in a very short form. And there are certain monolithic monographs written, which are very exhaustive, again springing out of both research as well as reviewing of articles. What are the lakshanas and features of these 3 types of products that come out of review of literature? We will talk for about 5 to 10 minutes next time when we meet. I think I will stop at this today. And are there any questions?
Sir, now the research gap, when we read the articles, sometimes it's very difficult to find out the research gap. Any tips on that, sir?
Oh, the research gap is first thing, madam. See, this is what happens whenever we read for the first time the article. So the actual reviewing of literature should be, that's what I would advise you to be. Make a habit of reading articles. Reading articles should be an everyday activity, integral activity. Okay, everyday activity. Then things become clearer to you. If you do it only for the purpose of review of literature, it may be very Himalayan task, right? If you do going on reading the articles, it is actually very simple, very easily you can grasp things. Reading articles, in a manner of having that criticality question is important. And if you should read articles with an intention that you will not understand. In other words, there are certain areas where you hit, you have your own idea, but what you are reading is something deviant to it, or what you have in your mind is not present there. This is what happens if you want to learn words also. See, best way of learning words or increasing vocabulary is reading the editorial chapters or editorial versions or editorial columns of newspapers. You do a small exercise tomorrow. Take Hindu or Deccan Herald. Read only the editorial chapter. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and write down very sincerely what the words you do not know.
Okay.
What you do not know. If you write that, you have done the first exercise of gaps.
Okay.
First exercise of gaps is identification. Identification, or in other words, reflection of only your limited brain. Your limited. It could be you can get answer in the dictionary by consulting those new words, by discussion with other people, and there would be some kind of residue where everybody is murky. Everybody is murky. That becomes little more focus for you, and that gets consolidated into a research gap later on. And that you take to your research supervisor, that particular aspect, and develop from there and confirm it. Very important is confirmation. Identification is one. The next one is confirmation, in the sense you will have to consult people with experience whether it is a gap at all or not. And if they say yes, it is a gap, there is no explanation as of now with all the articles that you have compiled, then that becomes a gap for you. Till such time, you should be going on doing reviewing of literature, madam. Otherwise, the construct of hypothesis becomes extremely tough. Construct of problem statement becomes extremely tough. And when they become tough, objectives also become very, very loose, or people who have done that work, you will again repeat that wheel, which is not correct, right? So it is important.
Thank you, sir.
But it comes by practice. But the first prelude is the practice is read articles of your area, as many as you can, every day. Ma'am, with this, I am 66 years of age. I read in 24 hours, 4 hours. Hard research articles I read every day. If I don't read, I don't get sleep. Because research is my career, which is giving me bread, right? So it is not a hobby. Research is not a hobby for me. Research is life for me. So it is important for a researcher to go on reading. If not 4 hours, you start with half an hour every day. Read one article or 10, if you want to cover more articles, 10 abstracts. So it is important for you to be in books, which is a prerequisite. And if you do not do it, there is no magic wand, there is no magic wand. With all that, you will get a lot of challenges, which are little, fightable challenges, solvable challenges. But if you don't do it, small thing also becomes a big challenge, man. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think I should really appreciate every one of you. I hope you have got good new points, new perspective for reading, doing the review of literature. It is extremely important for you to spend a lot of time here. Do not hurry up. because or do not procrastinate, do not delay also. Try to do it bit by bit so that things become little highly shaped and carved later, which you will really feel very happy that you have done a very satisfying reviewing of literature exercise, and everybody will appreciate your method, scientific method of doing it, and you become of all more confident of building a very good chapter. I wish all of you best of luck. Start reviewing of literature from tomorrow onwards, and by the end of the course or by the end of 2-3 months, you will be in a very, very good position to build up the in a stage to plan up future strategy of your research work. I wish you everybody good luck, and also on the eve of Christmas, I extend hearty wishes to everybody on Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you will share the PPT, no, sir? We got the last time also.
You got one lot, is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I will share it. I will share it. Maybe after about 2 more topics, I will share it once again. The rest of the, sir. I have, I should say, 4 or 5 sessions left. I can cover all those things, and then, or in between also, I will send one more lot to you. I think you have got the book also. I will
Yes,
be giving
sir.
one more book at the end, what is called Doing Science, which will give you real idea to construct tables, type of tables, the more of analytical work that you could exercise, what could be the tests that you should put, how to represent those things when you build up material methods, results and discussion chapters. Doing Science is a wonderful book, which gives you big knowledge about construction of tables, depiction of your data, and also analysis of your data so that you get good findings. So I will give that book at the end. I have a e-copy. At the end, I will give you. But till such time, this Kothari book is quite good, very easy to understand. For both scientific as well as social research, it is good enough. And for preparation as a coursework, that is a very handy guide, right? So thank you, and good night to all of you. Thank you very much.
Good night, sir.
Good
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.